I wanted to make a simple video for your 1965 and 1966 Mustang on how to hook up your electrical for aftermarket gauges. So let's get to it. So here's my tachometer that I'm using. This is MOONEYES vintage style tachometer. This one has a green wire, which the green wire is going through the firewall. It's the only one that needs to go through the firewall. And that's gonna be the one that reads your, basically your RPMs. So on a Ford Mustang, 66 and 65, you're gonna hook it up to your ignition coil here on the negative side, okay? That's the only wire that's going to the firewall. I made a hole and ran it through with all my other stuff. And the next wire is ground, which is gonna be your black one. See that blue terminal on that piece of metal? Let me zoom out. That's where all your grounds are for the gauges. So go ahead and put your chassis ground there. That's gonna work really great. So on my particular gauge, the next wire is going to be white. That's for the light bulb in the car. As you can see, it's already working. I'll show you guys, right? White. The way I hooked that up was very simple. We'll go behind this cluster and I'll show you exactly what I did. So we're behind the cluster, right? On the right hand side if you're holding the steering wheel. You see this light bulb right here? I just spliced my white wire in there. So I cut it in half. I connected it here to my white wire and hooked that back up. Now the light on the cluster works and the light on my actual tachometer works. So that's it. Now you're left with one last wire and I'll show you where I hooked that one up. Luckily I don't have a dash right now, so you guys are gonna get a bird eye view of where I hooked up my red wire. So your red wire has to be a wire that's 12 volts with ignition. When you turn off the ignition, there's no voltage going to the tach. That's the one you have to find. That's probably the hardest one it took me to find. So in here, let me zoom in. But that cylinder that I'm gonna zoom in on right now, that is your ignition tumbler, okay? The back of it, right there. On the other side is your key. You see that red wire in the back of that tumbler? There's a nut in the back. That nut, I hooked up, you know, I put a regular little circle butt connector, and then I put it through that little screw behind the ignition switch and basically put a nut on it. And the nut you're gonna use, you can get it at Home Depot, which I did, which was $1.30. Here's the nut that I got at Home Depot, $1.30 something cents. The number you're gonna be looking for is 10-32, and you only need one, and it works perfectly. All right, so right here is how I hooked up my gauges for lights. So the wire that we hooked up, the white wire, to the light of the original gauge cluster, I cut it in half right here, right? Because it was a one strand of that white wire. Put them together and then put a terminal that hooked up on one end, the white one, and then all three lights are hooked up on one end together in series, and that's how you get your light. Very simple. And you can even dim them, which is cool. It's actually coming from the power from this light switch that controls these light bulbs. So that's how you want to hook it up. Hopefully the video helped you guys out a ton. I try to make it super basic and super simple, straight to the point, so you guys can get along and get your project going. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. It helps out the little channels a lot. I love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Click on this video. It shows you how to convert your dim, classic Mustang lights to bright white LEDs.